Topic gaming, normal fishing. Okay. I guess we're gamers tonight on TikTok.
Hey. I mean, I do use LiveScope a lot.
I don't know why, but I can't hear. I can't hear. Oh, there it is. Okay, I'm back. There we go. I'm back. What's up, Jim? How you doing, my man? I don't know why. It just looks so dark on the other screen in here. But there's like a difference in the screens.
We are not live on TikTok.
No. Jim says it's echoing real bad. It's not good.
Up. Testing.
Betcha that just fixed it.
That better?
Hello. Betcha that fixed it. We good? Jason Bastos says you got a reverb on. We got it. Thank you, guys.
Had to get our pedals adjusted there.
Yeah. Appreciate you guys for letting us know. Y'all the best. Tonight, we're talking about finding some spring bass. Pre-spawn edition. Unfortunately, we can't get Humminbird LakeMaster charged to work on the computer. We tried hooking an iPad up to it and everything, but it said, no, you no do that tonight. So maybe another time. What's up, Jason? Do me a favor, everybody. Hit that like and that share button. We appreciate you guys. Ooh.
So fancy, isn't it?
It'd be so nice if that would just work on the computer.
I know, right?
We have Paul's graph on his iPad. So, same difference.
We have it.
I wonder if we could, like, why can we not do that just, like, on the computer?
Because they don't allow you to do that. It's very gay.
It's, like, weird. Like, you can do all this, like, on your computer. If you, like, you should be able to do all this on your computer and then, like, transfer it to your screens, your sonar, but they don't want you to do that. We are, Joe. We're rocking. Turn it down just a tad. All right. Do you need one? I only think there's like 3 or 4 in here.
No, I'm good tonight. I gotta get up early.
Nice, Jim. Guess it was on the old bullshit, huh? You want to be on the podcast too, buddy?
Find a good lake to use here.
All right.
One that I actually know. Send that to.
Oh, look, you could send it to Jim Fallon.
I'm gonna send it to you. And then we at least have a screenshot that we can kind of look at. Little visual, well, a little visual for you. Not as cool as I wanted to do, but I've also been busy as crap at work and didn't have time to figure it out.
Where is Messenger?
I don't know. Probably off of the live dashboard. Yeah, there you go. And apparently it didn't send it. Let me try that again.
Everything is just working smittenly tonight.
It says sent.
We're trying to get a screenshot of what are we're doing. We're Rayburn.
It's literally in your. Did I send it to the wrong? No, it's the wrong.
No,
chat.
you sent it the wrong way.
Oh, I think you're under the Bass and Beer. Maybe. Like Bass and Beer Messenger.
Oh God.
Yeah, fuck off. Don't restore. No. Oh, there it did. Yeah, that's definitely something wonky going on right now.
Mm-hmm. Nothing is working that we need it to work. We're trying to get. What's up, Dan? What's up, Brian? Jim, Joe, Jason, Kyle Barney. What's up, big dog? We're having some issues pulling up some
Also,
screenshots that we want to look at.
I also don't see the links that you sent me. That's odd.
Nothing is working tonight. That's okay. We're not panicking. Do not panic.
Weird. So what's going on, everybody? Anybody been fishing?
It's time. It's going to be a beautiful weekend.
I have been fishing one time, and it annoys me. That's not going to help us. I need to see the chart. What if we send it to Bass?
San Rayburn Reservoir.
And then we'll do that. And then we'll do that. And we'll send. All right. Well, I just sent it to both you and Bass and Beer Radio. So let's see if we can make this work. I don't even know where those messages went. There it is. All right. We got us a screenshot now.
Okay. All right, at least we have something we can go to scene 2 and take a gander at it. So that's what we have to look at. Anyways, tonight we're talking about finding spring bass because it's that preseason time. The fish are starting to move into those transition points to spawn. And we're going to talk about kind of...
It's going to be a little while before they spawn, but...
It's going to be a while before they spawn, but they, you know... They're going from the deep areas to the shallow areas. They're feeding. They're going back. We're going to try to talk about and identify what those areas are.
Yes. So, do we want to jump right into that, or are we going to talk? Let's talk a little
About Dylan Nutt.
Oh yeah, we'll talk. Let's talk a little tournament talk.
First off, like the guy's name, Dylan Nutt. It's a sweet name.
Busted a nut on the competition.
Dylan busted nut.
So Dylan Nutt won the Bassmaster Classic last weekend. Pretty freaking awesome. The first nation qualifier to win the Classic since 1984. 32 years, or 1994. 32 years since a nation qualifier has won the Classic.
Only the second one to ever do it.
A couple people have come close. Paul Mueller came really close one year on Gunnersville. I think it was the year Randy Howe won. Paul Mueller was second. But only two people have ever done it, Brian Kershaw and Dylan Nutt. Both very young, too. Brian Kershaw was 23 when he did it, and Dylan Nutt was 22. Pretty freaking amazing. The live coverage was awesome. I don't know. Like, a lot of people complained about, you know, all they're doing was sharing their screens. You know what else they were doing? Catching 7.5 pound mean mouths.
Yeah, that was a really interesting looking fish. When I first saw that, I was like, that's definitely just a big smallmouth.
Yeah, so that's actually that was a mean mouth, which is a hybrid.
And who caught that again?
Dakota Eber.
Eber.
Safe weight, Tom. So that'll be you know around 7.
7, yeah.
Ish. So, yeah. So I mean, there's multiple 6-pounders, multiple 7-pounders being caught. Chris Johnson flips a jig into a tree, catches a 6-pounder. Dakota Eber catches a 7.5 pound mean mouth, which, as I was saying, is a hybrid smallmouth and spotted bass, or Alabama bass.
That's very interesting.
So they get big, 7.5 pounds, right? Giant fish. There was some really cool stuff on live. It wasn't just live scoping, and 2, they were catching giant fish. That's entertaining. I don't care how they're catching them.
Fishing for dollars. What's up, my man?
You can catch them. I don't care if you're throwing a jig, if you're throwing a wacky rig Senko, or you're throwing a crankbait. If you're putting 6-pounders in the boat, I'm entertained.
Yeah.
I don't care. I don't care how you catch them. Just put them on camera. That's all I want to see is big fish being caught. I'm
There's
not
just
watching
a little bit more to look at when you're flipping a lay down. That's the only difference. However, whatever, 6-pounders, 7-pounders, they're all freaking cool. I thought spotted bass were like a smaller species of bass.
So for some reason, when spotted bass cross with smallmouth, they get bigger than either species. No idea how that works.
Okay,
But it does. I mean, I've seen it multiple times. OHIV, there was
Table Rock.
like an 8-pound. There was like an 8-pound mean mouth
Hooks that baby. What's going on?
that was caught on OHIV.
Cheers, boys.
A couple years ago, Luke Duncan caught it. He had They thought it was a smallmouth at first, and he thought he had the state record smallmouth for about 30 seconds until somebody caught a bigger one. like 2 days later.
Crazy.
But yeah, lots of cool. There were so many cool catches. The coverage was great. The anglers that they had on live were great. Talking to the camera, talking through what they were doing, and that in itself, no matter what they're doing, makes it more entertaining and more knowledgeable. If you just have somebody that's on camera and they're dead silent the whole day, like, yeah, I get it. That's boring.
What's
But
up,
when
Trez?
they're talking the whole time, yeah, it's pretty cool. And
We're on TikTok somewhere.
I see
Just not our TikTok.
We on there somewhere.
We're on TikTok. It's just the profile that I made that we don't use
Wow,
or something.
maybe. Yeah, that's always a
Because
possibility.
I even went to our TikTok.
Oh,
we're
wait,
definitely
wait.
not
Yeah.
live on our TikTok.
Yeah, no, it's not there.
That is so funny.
Yeah. So anyway, so Dylan Nutt was doing a lot of shallow scoping too.
Yeah.
Like you could see, like you were talking about, oh, you got more to look at when you're flipping a tree. Like he's casting 2 trees, like on the bank.
What's going on, Mr. Scott?
It was pretty darn entertaining.
Doesn't matter how you won. The fact a kid from nowhere came up quick and beat the best is cool. Yes,
Yeah.
it is. I would have to agree with that.
One of the things I don't think a lot of people realize like how good these kids are and where they came from.
Well, his brother won like college angler of the year or something like that.
College Classic.
Yeah.
Yeah, the same day or the day before. On
The day
Saturday.
before.
Yeah.
You see, like, I'm
Him
just
and
going
his
to say it,
partner.
like, that's a God thing right there. He
So-
won the Classic. His brother won the College Classic. Like, that's freaking sick.
So these 2 boys are hammers on the Tennessee River. I mean, just absolute hammers on Pickwick, Chickamauga, those areas. And a lot of people don't realize, like, yeah, they're 22 years old and they got brand new bass boats and $30,000 in electronics and blah 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 blah. Daddy's money. It's daddy's money. Now, 2 years ago, they were fishing out of a 20-year-old Procraft. The reason that they have a new boat is because they're good. Nobody bought it for them. They didn't have live scope until 4 years ago.
Did they just start getting into the big money tournaments only 2 years ago?
So they fished high school tournaments, and the only reason that they were able to get live scope is because they won their high school state championship and they won some money, and they used that money to buy live scope. So then they got into live scope because they were like, oh, we're obsessed with fishing. See what's under the water? Hell yeah, right? So about 4 years ago, they got live scope, but up until they were 18 years old, they didn't fish with live scope, and they were taking people's money when they were teenagers without it. And I don't think they get enough credit for that they can fish and they're obsessed with it. And the reason that the biggest reason that he won is that he put in the time. He pre-practiced for over a month on that body of water, scanning, just straight side scanning. He scanned pretty much every inch of that lake. I think he said he spent 32 days on the water in pre-practice,
God.
prepping for that tournament.
Did he fish any tournaments before the Classic? Like, how do you qualify for the Classic?
So
Like,
he qualified through the Bass Nation Championship, which
Right.
was the tournament that I fished in Wisconsin. And he was third in that. So the top 3 in that tournament qualify for the Classic. I was not anywhere near the top 3. I think I ended up I think I ended like 112th or something like that out of 250. So whatever, I was in the top 50%.
mid-pack.
Yeah, I was mid-pack. Only person from Maryland to catch a limit both days.
Cool. Mr. Powell.
But anyway, so he was third in that, and that's how he qualified for it. Now he does fish other stuff. He fishes. He's won 2 Toyota series. He did well at the Toyota Championship. He qualified to fish the MLF Pro Series this year, so he's been fishing that this year. him and his brother, they just put in an insane amount of time on the water. They're always out there, which is what a lot of these younger anglers do because they don't have, responsibilities, and they've been set up for success. When with high school angling and college angling, youth angling being a thing, and from the time they're fishing national level tournaments from the time they're like 12 years old, right? So they're traveling the country. So by the time they get out of college, they've fished close to 100 national level tournaments. They've seen water all over the place. They've been to a lot of these areas. And so that's, that is usable tournament experience. Mm-hmm. And when you have 100 tournaments under your belt all over the country, different bodies of water, that's going to make a difference. On top of that, these guys, they don't have responsibilities. They don't have a family. They don't have kids. They're willing to live out of their...
They are the kids.
Right. They're willing to live out of their truck for months at a time. Some of them put 300 days on the water a year.
That's insane.
That's the equivalent. So they can
I couldn't imagine putting 300 days a year.
So somebody putting in 300 days on a year, that's like your average Joe Schmo, like weekend angler, fishing Saturday and Sunday every weekend for it. If they fished every weekend of the year, right?
That's not even close to 300 days.
4 years.
Yeah.
So in 1 year, they spend as much time on the water as someone
that fishes every weekend.
Somebody that fishes literally every Saturday and Sunday, for 4 years, give or take. 4 years.
That's an incredible amount of time.
5 years.
The amount of
more like five.
The amount of time they put in, but it's more of like...
I'm sorry, my math was off. It's closer to 6 years.
You can put in an insane amount of time like that, but if you don't ever pay attention to what you're doing and learn the patterns
Correct.
And yada yada yada, it still doesn't matter. Like, you can go out and fish 5 days a week, but if you don't put your head into what you're doing and you just go out there
Jason's
and blindly
right,
fish,
My math is way off tonight, Jason. Sorry. So yeah, 3 years. So that's that's 3 times. Essentially they're progressing 3 times faster than a regular guy, right?
As long as they're looking at the right things,
right? And that's where that high school, college experience comes in, right? Mm-hmm. Because they have coaches and they have mentors and they have people to help them and show them like this is what you need to do. Plus, like they're just obsessed with fishing. And I really I don't know, it really makes me feel some type of way. Like whether you're entitled to your opinion on LiveScope. Not saying that. If you want to say that LiveScope sucks, it shouldn't be in tournaments, that's fine. But stop trying to discredit people for winning a tournament with LiveScope when everybody else in the field has LiveScope. The same tools everybody has the same stuff. Everybody's out there competing the same way. They did it better than somebody else. Stop trying to tear someone down because you don't like something. Mm-hmm. If you want to say that I said this to somebody online the other day, that the arguments that people make are stupid. They just say, oh, well, look at, all these young kids, they're just coming in. So, LiveScope's terrible for the sport. Well, no, provide some evidence because you don't know that background of that kid that came in. You don't know how much time he spent on the water. You don't know how much experience he's had. You don't know, that guy could have been fishing since he was 10 years old, right? Trey McKinney. 10, 11 years old, out fishing with pros, learning how to become a tournament angler, right? Now, if you want to say that, oh, well, I think LiveScope is bad for the sport because X, Y, Z, let's say that they're, oh, well, there's a decrease in tackle sales. That's evidence, right? That's tangible evidence that you can show. Oh, it's, there's a decrease in tackle sales. There's a decrease in viewership for bass tournaments.
There's also a whole nother angle to that you can look at too. LiveScope has added. There's a decrease in tackle sales. Why? Because they're not buying chatterbaits anymore. They're buying LiveScope baits.
What is it?
They're still buying baits.
Right.
It's just a different category of baits.
Exactly. And they're buying electronics. Electronics are part of the fishing industry.
Yes.
So I feel like that evens out.
I'm sure the
if you wanted to
electronic
say-
sales fucking went through the roof.
If you want to say like, well, I saw this study that says the live scope is, bad for fish populations. Okay, that's tangible evidence. Stop saying that it's bad, and that because it's bad because it's bad, and that this classic doesn't mean as much as previous classics because it was one with live scope. Everybody had it. Everybody was competing under the same rules. They did it better than anyone else. Stop trying to tear people down. It makes you look like a douchebag. Stop posting.
Douchebag.
Stop. Stop.
I will say, like, a lot of the people that we're beating a dead horse. I'm just so tired of the argument. It's been the same argument for 8 years now. It is just repeat. It's not going anywhere. Let's just move on with our lives. It doesn't matter how you feel about it. It's in professional fishing.
You know what? 90% of the arguments are just regurgitating whatever Randy Block had said. They don't provide any evidence. That, they don't have any thoughts of their own. They just regurgitate what Randy Block.
What did
says.
Randy Block have to say about the classic win?
Oh, all kinds of fun stuff.
I paid no attention to it.
I heard anyway. I won't go on to his YouTube channel because I think he's a piece of shit. So I won't give him the view.
It's crazy.
Jim says he grew up playing Pong. His kid grew up playing Xbox. Yes, he's way smarter than me.
Old dudes back in the day used every bit of new tech
Yeah,
they could
exactly.
get their hands on. Yeah.
I was just listening. Matt Pangray on the way over was saying, every generation has used every bit of technology available to them. Do you think KVD would have been as dominant on Kentucky Lake as he was in the mid 2000s if he didn't have side scan?
I can't tell if he's saying Mr. Blow Coke or Mr. Blow Cock. He's talking about Randy Blockhead, I guess.
Definitely cock. So, it's KVD. KVD would not have been as dominant on Kentucky Lake as he was in the mid 2000s without side scan. That was the highest level of tech available. He just wouldn't have been. He would not have been as successful. Would he have still won tournaments? Probably.
Yeah.
But would the weights have been big? Probably not.
He's definitely.
But yeah, every generation, and this is straight from
As soon as any type of new technology came out, they were all chasing it. They were all over it, from 2D to side scan.
Yeah, started with paper graphs.
I mean,
when paper graphs came out,
the mapping changed.
power poles, spotlight,
Mapping changed more than anything.
Oh my god,
The mapping was ridiculous.
Mapping is crazy. So that's enough about that. I really just wanted to say, stop tearing people down to try to build up your argument. It doesn't work, and it just makes you look like a prick.
Yeah. Trying to blow out somebody else's flame doesn't make yours burn any brighter.
Exactly. So, with that being said, that's enough I have. Congratulations, Dylan Nutt. Fantastic classic win. Blew it away. Had 26 pounds on the second day, which is pretty insane. That 26 pounds... I think that 26 pounds would have, in the previous classic on that body of water, that would have put him into the top 25 cut for the last day. Just that bag. Mm-hmm. Pretty wild. So Jim says, here's the main issue. Regardless of how he won, he's a young kid. No need to crush his dreams. What if that was your kid? Could you imagine his happiness? Exactly. Did you see his brother? Did you see the pictures of his brother running up on stage, bawling, like crying? He's so happy for his brother. Yeah, and then people are trying to say, "Oh, well, he didn't seem very excited to win." Like, take your crotchety old ass back to the fucking trailer park, and get the hell off the internet.
Gromster, what's going on?
Yeah, from flashers to LCD screens, there's always technological advancements.
Most of the people complaining too are people that wouldn't even fucking
Here's
win money on a Thursday nighter. So
here's my
chill out.
Here's my view on technology. it should be allow. We can allow progressions to the point where, up until the point where we're not doing the thinking anymore. Like live scope, we still have to look at a screen and we have to process that information in our brains. Our brain is making the decisions. We are learning how that fish behaves. We're learning how to identify a fish on it. We're learning. When it starts telling us that information, that's where you have to draw the line.
Yeah.
So,
when will that happen?
Who knows, right? First bassin trip ever to the Northeast tomorrow. All right.
Good weekend for it, my man. Good weekend for it. And with that, I guess that kind of brings us to what we want to talk about.
I feel like I talked to him on Facebook about that.
Okay.
So the fish still has to bite. It could be a catfish down there. Right. That's part of it, is learning how to identify a fish, just like it was with 2D. I can tell you what a bass looks like on 2D. Use 2D to. I use 2D with the. If you take and you turn the refresh rate up on 2D, I can watch my drop shot go down to the bottom. I can watch it go down to an arc. I can essentially do the same thing with 2D. It's just right under the boat.
A leech.
And Scott said, he put forward-facing sonar on his boat last year, but never had any luck with learning how to use it. And it takes time. It's not easy, Scott. I spent in pretty much an entire week on Lake Anna took everything else out of my boat and forced myself to just use that. And I went a long time without catching a fish. I promise. One day it was so bad that I pulled a crankbait out of the box and ran back to one point and caught a couple of fish, in like 20 minutes. I was like, okay, I'm good. Back to live.
I just have to get this out of my system really quick.
Yes. Matt says the ramp at Smallwood is back open. It is. I saw that today.
Ooh. What is
So Brian says the only gripes he has is the cost to get it down, to make it afford.
What's going on, Murph?
Make it everyone able to afford it. It's just like anything else. If you really want it, you'll find a way. I had it on my boat before, when I was scraping pennies together.
Yeah.
You'll find a way. If you really want something, you'll find a way to get it.
Lots and lots of time on the water. Nothing comes easy.
Nothing beats shad darts and and gizzard shad.
That is fun.
Gizzard shads do put up a good fight when you snag one in the back.
Especially when they're up in the current. It's good.
Then you get some hickory. Yeah. Then them hickories come in. Yeah.
Spent a lot of time as a kid throwing shad darts in the river, catching shad and perch.
Bob Murphy took the day off, did some fishing today. Good. It was a good day. It was a nice day out.
Good day.
It was pretty nice.
Are you fishing river rats tomorrow, Murph?
I was stuck at work, unfortunately.
Where's river rats out of tomorrow? It's out of Tidings.
Yeah. So yeah, before we get into this, just for everybody watching, anybody local to the area, if you want to fish a tournament tomorrow, first tournament of the year, we'll be out of Tidings tomorrow. That is our annual Spring River Rats Open. It will $120, including lunker, to pay at the ramp. We will launch about 7 o'clock. Get there before that. Register. Go out. Have some fun.
Yeah, it's open. Open tournament.
Yeah, absolutely.
Show up and fish.
But you have to come over to Tidings instead of Anchor.
Petrovia, ours. Is your dad or your uncle 486, buddy? Local 486.
90s down on Table Rock. Wow. Is there anyone around to help with the settings? There's some. I will say that there are some really good YouTube videos. Tom Reddington did a really, really good video on how to do your settings. So that would be one to look at. Or, you might, Brian, you might have a buddy that knows a little bit about it.
All right, right on. Okay, I thought I recognized the name. I'm also 486. I'm on the service side. So I'm looking at the name, and I was like, I bet they have to have an affiliation.
But the main thing, Brian, is learning what the settings do, because you will constantly have to change them. If you want it to be good, it's not a set it and forget it type deal. You have to learn what the settings do, how it affects the picture, how it affects what you're seeing, and you'll constantly be changing. Water clarity, current, pollen. There's tons of things that will affect the clarity of LiveScope. So finding some of those better YouTube videos on what the settings do will help you use LiveScope better. Simply because it's not a one thing, like I can go out on your boat and set it up for you and you're good. We might go out. Let's say if I jumped in your boat tomorrow and we went out and I changed some settings with you. Well, the bay's super muddy, so bay cleans up. You're gonna have to change your settings again. So keep that in mind. So with that being said, let's talk a little bit about locating fish.
Finding spring bass. It's that time of year where, in all honesty, depending on where you're fishing, probably more so for lakes than for tidal, but it can be very, very predictable.
So I'm going to give you, and before we show you this, I'm going to give you and I've mentioned this before, and there's a reason that I fish so much in the wintertime. Fishing in the wintertime and finding out where fish winter will help you in the spring and fall. So I fish all winter if I can, when the bay's not iced up, right? Because when you find those wintering holes, those fish are going to move from those wintering holes to where they spawn. So if you know where they spawn and you know where they winter, guess what? They're going to be somewhere in between in that pre-spawn area or pre-spawn time of year. So if you know that they winter out here and you know that they spawn over here, when you go out in the springtime, you just need to fish in between the two.
Mm-hmm.
I usually start at the shallowest, so at the spawning areas, and work my way back toward the wintering holes. And then you'll find them. It's very important to, spend a lot of time on the water this time of year, because the fish are moving a lot. So they're going to be heading toward those spawning areas, and then they're going to get into staging areas. So they'll set up on the staging areas, and sorry, I was reading Tim's comment. Northwest corners of the lake has the most sunlight. Yep. So
I thought it was south-facing pockets.
So that would be your south-facing pockets on this side. So, say if this is your lake, you want south-facing pockets on this side of the lake, because the sun's rising over here, right? So it's going to be shining on that first before it shines on anything over here. So you get the most sun on that side.
What's up, Steven? Hope you're doing well, my man. Yeah, it's like one of them hard things where it's hard to grasp unless you have like a compass or some shit in front of you, and then you can look and be like, okay, this is north, so south facing, we're gonna be back here or wherever it's gonna be.
Another thing to remember too is, and this is something that not a lot of people do, is you think, oh well, it's cold, I need to fish deeper. Shallow water warms up faster. Especially if you have good light penetration. Because if that light can reach the bottom, that water is going to heat up faster. Mm-hmm. So
also, murky water heats up faster than clear water.
It does. I mean, I caught them in February one year in 1.5 foot of water on the Potomac. I mean, good ones. Like, they were in 1.5 foot of water in February. I've done that multiple times down there, actually, in February. In 1.5 foot to 4 feet of water. You wouldn't think in February, the third week of February, that's where they would be, but multiple times that's where they are, because that's where the warmest water is. Especially when we're dealing with tidal water, right? So you're dealing with tidal water, you get that low tide that comes down, and it heats that thin layer of water up, right? And it heats that bottom up. And when that water comes up, they just push up into that warmer water. Hide from the north winds. Do not hide from the south winds. South winds South wind in the springtime, very good because it's usually warmer, so it's usually warming the water up. A couple of other tips. Don't cover water. Yeah, this is the time of year that you want to cover water. You don't particularly want to sit in one spot. You're gonna want to cover water until you find them.
41 to 43. Still cold.
Once you find them, that's in Pretty Boy. It always takes a little longer for Pretty Boy to warm up.
Yeah.
Bob said 43 to 50 on the bay. Mm-hmm. Not bad. I'll take 50 degrees. Dom said he found 5 to 10 feet today, 44 degrees. Yeah. Especially largemouth. I think people overestimate how deep it has to be for largemouth to winter.
Not that deep.
No. 10 to 15 is more than enough. Especially around here in these river systems, they're not going to be sitting in those 20, 25 foot holes. They're going to be in like 10 feet of water.
There's not that many 25 and 30 foot deep holes around here.
Oh, there's plenty in the river.
In the river, but you know what I'm saying. Like out of there on the flats, they're not going to travel all the way across the flat into the river just to go to a 30 foot deep hole.
A lot of those fish go into the river though. And right off the flats, there's a lot of 20 foot water.
But not all of them.
And there's some 20 foot water that holds fish in the wintertime.
On the flat. Mm-hmm. You got the channels.
Not on the flat, but near the flat.
On the edges of the flat.
So that's my biggest tip, especially on tidal water, because it's hard to look at a map on tidal water and be like, oh, where's everything? Mm-hmm. Because everything looks the same. It's all flat, right? It's all flat and shallow. So put in your time in the winter time to figure out where those wintering holes are. And then if you know where they spawn, you know where they winter, they're going to be somewhere in between. Look for rock piles. Rock piles in a little bit deeper water. They're going to tend to gravitate more toward hard cover in the springtime. If there's grass, they'll be there. If you find grass, they'll be there. But finding grass or in tidal water early in the year when the bay was iced over for 4 months is hard. Is there some grass out there? Probably. Go out and you're just gonna have to go out and look. So if you're fishing a lake,
I'm gonna go look for those places where it is easy for them to move from that shallow area or from that deeper area up to a shallower area that has some type of hard cover or structure. And a lot of times, depending on where you're fishing at, that would be
channel edges. Channel edges are always good.
Channel edges,
especially on tidal water.
Yeah,
where they can, where you have that channel edge where it moves up into like a little 2 foot or 3 foot deep flat, up to the bank. Those channel edges are always going to be good because they can use those channel edges. It comes out flat and then drops off, and they can
move up, eat,
move down,
go back down, move up, eat, go back down. Whatever they're going to do.
They can move very quickly. So I want to show you guys a little bit about mapping and how to use mapping to kind of identify some of these areas. And I'm not going to show you mapping around here because you can go figure that out yourself. So
my maps don't even do that shit.
So let's see if there's any way we can make this a little bit bigger. Let's see if we can zoom on this.
I tried. It was not working.
No?
For some reason, it gets smaller when I go in.
Interesting. What if you do it the opposite? What if you try not zooming in?
Then it gets smaller again? Then it gets even smaller again.
All right. So that's stupid.
Yeah, I don't quite understand that. Let's try
saving the image and opening it.
Hang on a second. We're gonna go back to this.
Rayburn or mapping, that works too. All right. Now we'll be able to do stuff. Maximize that. Zoom in for me. Yeah, there we go.
There we go.
Come back out like one click. All right.
Okay. Hello.
So- Let me have the mouse so that I can point at things. All right. So this is Sam Rayburn Reservoir. I have fished Sam Rayburn a few times.
Why isn't our little...
Why isn't there what? What are you doing?
Hang on just a second.
Oh, just want to put us in
Hi. Okay, we're back.
Okay. Let me have the mouse.
Okay, you may have the mouse.
So, this is one of the creeks that I love on Sam Rayburn, and I'm going to show you guys a little bit about how to identify where fish are going to locate in the springtime. And it may be obvious to some of you, but there are some less obvious spots that a lot of people don't think of. The first thing we think of, and this is the first thing that Chad thought of, was, oh, well, I want to be looking at these points where these fish are going to move, right? So
Out on main lake. You have main lake points and secondary points.
So we're out here. We're out here. You know, this is a typical main lake point out here. You have a couple of points here at the mouth of the creek, you know, where they're going to be coming off the main lake and they're going to be hitting those points. But it's not just about main lake points. You have to have a highway. So where would they be coming from here?
Before we get too far, what in this picture that you have, what depth is set for the red? So we kind of have an
4
idea.
foot.
4 foot for the red, and then
Yeah, it's gradual. So just from knowing this, so this out here is about 25, give or take. So it's going to be 25 coming up to.
this isn't
like
settings
4 foot.
that you have in your, because you can change all that. You can change the
Yeah.
colors for. The
Well, I can
depth
change
and-
the colors, but this is I can highlight certain colors, but this is your like bottom view or like 3D view of this. So this is Humminbird Lake Master. This is the mapping that I use for just about everything. But so out here, we're looking at like 25 feet, and things like this creek channel up here, or this gut. This is like a typical wintering area on Rayburn. So they're gonna, bait's gonna be there essentially in the wintertime. Like they're not pulling out and just sitting
So
somewhere.
would like
They're
that be a?
following-
Would this
they're
be like
following
a
bait.
shoal in the middle? Like that's not just solid
Yeah, just like
land.
this is just like a ridge.
Yeah.
Underwater ridge.
So it's going to come up and then go back down to a deeper area.
Yeah. So one of the things that we've learned with LiveScope is that wintertime fish don't just go off and sit somewhere. They follow bait. They're always going to be around bait. So these are typical areas where you're going to find bait, out in this deeper water, stuff like this. So here's our wintering area. Now, remember my rule for finding fish, right? If you know where they spawn, you know where they winter, they're going to be somewhere in between. So back in here, all this back in here, huge spawning area. Especially this little creek here. Caught the bejeebus out of them in that creek one time. So if this is our wintering area and this is our spawning area, they're going to be somewhere in between, right? So why would they ever be on these 2 points? Even though they look pretty money. If this is our major spawning area, these are our secondary spawning areas, right? The main thing about tournament fishing and learning a new body of water, I'm going to have you keep an eye on the comments for me. But the main thing about learning a new body of water or being successful on a new body of water is to put yourself in the highest percentage areas. So while fish may spawn back in these little points here, if the majority of fish spawn back here, I want to focus on the things between here and here rather than the stuff between here and here. So if this is my wintering area, they're going to be moving generally kind of like this, back into here. So if this is my wintering area, they're going to move back this way. Now, they're going to stop here, they're gonna stop here. They 100% stop here. So if you can find this on a map and you ever go to Sam Rayburn, that point right there is money. There's a big brush pile on the end of this right here. But so we see the points. Like we have the points there. Everybody thinks about points. Points, right?
Points.
It's been talked for 30 years, right?
Main points,
Main
secondary
points,
points.
secondary points. You got to find this. You got to find that.
Anything in
What's
red
the-
is pretty much like the way that I'm looking at this right now for
So-
myself. I'm thinking about it, and I'm looking at transition points from deeper water to shallow water on main lake. So you're looking at points down here. I'm looking at this point over here. I'm looking at this point here, and I just think that fish, because as we've learned from forward-facing sonar, there's a lot of roamers out here. There's fish all over the place. They're all over the place out here. When it's time to move up, they can move up to these different areas. And this is a transition area to me. This is a transition area. This is a transition area. This is a transition area. That's a transition area. This is a transition area.
So you've pointed to a lot of good spots, but you skipped over every one of the best ones.
I don't understand.
So that's what I want to break down. So everything that you've heard for the last 30 years, points, main lake points, secondary points, blah, 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 blah. The biggest concentration of fish that you're going to find, if you're looking, remember what I said, right? If this is our wintering area, this is our spawning area, we're looking for, they're going to be moving from one spot to the other. Where's their road to get back there?
I mean, anywhere they want to go, really.
The creek channel.
Right.
Right in the middle, off of the points. You notice we're not on the points. We're on the creek channel. So when they come into this creek to spawn, like you may get some fish that hold up on these points. And generally those are probably like, if they're on this point here, they're either just coming into the creek or they're going back into these other secondary pockets. The majority of your fish are going to travel along these creek channels. So you're going to be looking for, as we zoom in here, channel swings. We hear people talk about channel swings all the time. So here's our creek channel, right? Channel swing. This is their most traveled, this is going to be their most traveled path. Now, things can change, right? It can be, this can be full of grass. Sometimes, like the last time I was down here, like from here to here was all grass, right? Mm-hmm. And grass, bass are always they're going to gravitate to bass, right?
Bass are going to gravitate to grass.
Yeah, I think that's what I tried to say.
Tongue twister.
Exactly, but if they're moving back to spawn, even if they hole up in this grass, and they're holding up in this grass to feed, right? They're still going to be moving back here, and when they start moving back into here, where they're going to spawn, they're going to be following these creek channels, because they're not just moving back here and not eating on the way.
But pre-spawn doesn't always mean going back to fan beds. It means moving up to shallows and eating and getting ready to
They're always
go spawn. It doesn't necessarily mean we're getting ready to spawn. Like
Right.
pre-spawn, even though it's within the name itself, it doesn't always mean getting ready to spawn. It means
they're gravitating toward the areas where they're going.
gravitating towards the areas. It means we're moving up, we're feeding.
So if they come in here, right? We followed this back. They followed it here. We have our grass right here. So 2024, when I was down there, big grass bed right here, big hydrilla bed. All right. Well, okay. So they're going to move. They move into here. They're starting to move back into the creek. Now we stop. And they're gonna hang out there for a little bit. Mm-hmm. Get their feet on. Right. Baits moved up into the grass. Get their feet on there. Right. Eat some bluegills. Do their thing.
When'd you go out, Adam?
Then they might move back to here. back into this area. There was more grass back here the last time I was there. So they were moving. We found at the beginning of practice, this area had a lot of fish in it.
Mm-hmm.
By the time the tournament rolls around 4 days later, very few fish here.
That'll be so different compared to what's up here, though. The grass around there can so easily stay around, where around here it's not the same.
No, actually, so down there they have a lot of water fluctuations. So like this year, all of this right here, back into here, didn't even have water on it.
Right.
It was 8 to 9 feet down. So this was all bare land. So it doesn't always.
Jim says, is that a channel between where it says submerged grasses, those two areas?
Here, that's a little ridge. There's a little ridge there. I think it was an old road bed. Bingo. There's a good pre-spawn area for you. It's also a great post-spawn area. They will funnel out of there and go right to a road bed. I think he's talking about this right here. You see this line right here. I'm pretty sure that was an old road bed, if I remember correctly. Bass follow contour lines way more than they just look at points. Like if you just see a point on the map, is that a good place for a bass to hold? Sure. But you have to understand why they're holding there. There has to be bait there to hold them there. If there's no bait there, there's not going to be fish there. So you can have the best looking point in the world, even this point here. And I've caught many fish off of this point. This exact point right here. If there's, and right out here in 14 feet of water, it's like 14 feet right here, there's a very large brush pile that someone planted. And it looks fantastic. But guess what? If there's no bait around, there's not going to be anything in a brush pile. There's no reason for them to be there. Everything is predicated on bait.
Right.
So,
but I think there's a lot of different things that end up changing where you want to look. As far as, around here, obviously you have tide swings. It could be the way that the sun is shining. It could be the way the wind is blowing.
I think the biggest thing around here. So if we want to talk about tidal water, I think the biggest thing that you want to look at in here is water temperature. And if you can find something that's a little bit warmer, that's going to be a very high percentage area. You can find stuff like this around here. It may not be as pronounced as this, but you may be looking at channel edges. If you find where the main river channel goes down through, let's say main river channel is running through here, and there's a channel edge there that's got a nice little flat up on top of it.
Sometimes you can be looking at stuff like that, and it's different in different areas. Like as we know, out on the flats, like an area like this, there's some areas you can kind of see out on the flats just like this, and you might not think anything about it because it might just be 3 to 5 inches deeper than everything else, but that matters to the fish.
It does.
In the way that they travel, and you know what I mean. Those little swings and those little differences when bass are moving from one area to another might not mean much to you, but it means a lot to the fish.
Especially with around here with tides. So if you have a spot out on the flats, so let's say that this is the Susquehanna Flats right here, and you have these channels that are in here. Well, out here,
all transitions matter.
Out here, out here on low tide, it's got 6 inches of water on it, right? So what are they going to do when that tide goes out? They're going to suck down into those guts, and it might not be a difference of 6 inches to 3 feet, or it could be. There's places on the flats where right here is 1.5 feet deep, and right here is 8 feet deep on low tide, and those areas exist on the flats.
Well, they call things like that where it's a flat, but you're out on a mud flat and it's slightly deeper out of the middle. The swallow, the swale.
Ditches. We call them
a ditch.
Ditches. We call them ditches. But we're old rednecks, so they're ditches to us. So you have to be able to find the transitions, right? So what I was trying to explain to Chad earlier is transitions, the term transitions is a very broad term. Transitions don't necessarily mean main lake points. Is a main lake point a transition? Yes, but all transitions aren't main lake points. Main lake flats. Main lake flat, big transition point. Why? Well, guess what? You know, if they're wintering here, some of those fish are going to move up onto this flat for their pre-spawn, right? What's up, man? So,
Matt, what's going on, my man?
not a lot of fish are going to spawn out here on this main lake flat. A little different around here. We get a lot of spawners on our main flats. You know, a lot of these fish are going to move back.
You could be
into the
moving
creeks,
up from
but
25 feet up to 14 or 15 feet in the green, and then it could be 4 to 5 feet in the red.
this whole area is about 8 foot.
You know, what
On
do you
average.
have your colors selected as on your mapping? You have 4 to
I don't
5
know,
feet in
whatever.
red, and then
I have it on gradient, so I don't. It's not really. It's. I can tell you, it gets the. It
because
gets
you can change all that to make it. You
So,
know,
Yeah, here. Let me see if I can pull up another picture. Here
it's
real quick.
nice when you can go on your maps and okay, so you open up your maps and you can change things around. You look, okay, well, I want to find points or transition areas that are going from 10 feet to 5 feet. And then the colors are going to indicate to you, okay, well, this color means that it's in a 10-foot area, and this color means it's in a 5-foot area. Boom, here's an area right here off this point or wherever it is that is saying I'm going from 10 to 5 feet. All by color.
This might make it a little easier for you. I don't pay attention to I don't pay attention to the depth that much when I'm looking. Like if I'm looking at a chart like this, I'm looking at the contours more than anything. But
Depth is the contours.
yeah, but it's deeper to shallow is all I'm really concerned about if I'm just like scouting. All right. I definitely sent that. There should definitely be another picture in there. Not that's the same one.
Nope.
Why is Facebook being absolutely retarded? Close.
Nope, still the same thing.
Hold on.
There it is.
Yeah, I had to send it to you. Apparently. All right. We're gonna blow that up, and we're gonna zoom in here. All right.
What's going on, Josh?
So when I want to look at what the bottom looks like, I take the contour lines off. So I turn the contour lines back on for this area, and then we can see what our depths are here, right? So 33 out here. That makes sense. It was about 6 foot low the last time I was down here. I said it was about 25 out here. I also said that this was like 18 feet out here. It says 24 because this is at full pull. I have never been to Sam Rayburn where it's been at full pull.
See, I would think that even those deep areas where, yes, it's going from 30 feet up to 24, that's an obvious
Right here?
depth change. Yeah, so
Yeah.
like right there, it's going from 30 feet up to 24. But when I think about pre-spawn, I think about fish moving from deep up to shallow. I don't know, I'm not going to consider 24 feet to be shallow. I'm thinking about
It's all relative.
I'm thinking about moving up to those. If you're coming out of 30 feet, moving up to that 8-foot area, that 6-foot area.
Well, it's all relative too, depending on your body of water. So
Right.
if you're if you're in a body of water where, you know, fish are in 30 feet, then moving up to 24 is probably, you know, that's a move, right? And then they can move from there up to like that 15. So they can move straight up, you know, all the way up that point to get shallow.
Yep.
But what I was trying to explain is there has to be a reason for them to move there.
Bait.
So, like you said, well, we learned from forward-facing sonar that there's fish all over the place out here. No. That's a misconception. Are there a lot of fish out in the middle of nowhere, right? Yes.
Yeah.
But out in the middle of here,
I feel like we've also learned that they will spawn in
like
incredibly deep water as well.
this is from like here to here is like 3 miles. You'll never cover that water and you'll never be able to find them.
Right.
When you see people fishing out in the middle, like, oh, they're out in the middle, they're in places like this where, yeah, they're 2 miles offshore, but there's a lot of depth change. There's a major creek channel. So your bait fish are always going to gravitate to these guts, these channels, these creek channels, like out in the mouths of these creeks. That's a lot of what when you see these guys out in the middle, quote unquote, they're not out here. This is out in the middle. This right here is like dead in the middle of Sam Rayburn. Can you catch fish out there? Absolutely. You know, you can see there's some depth changes out there. But a lot of those fish are going to be...
It's like there's nomadic fisher out there.
Even in the wintertime, a lot of your fish are going to be on areas like this, where they can move up, where they can, you know, move up to feed. They have these guts that they can move, that they can easily move up onto this flat.
That's still considered deep for around here. Compared
like
to
I said,
around here. Maybe not out there, but
deep is
compared to
relevant.
around here, like, yeah.
Deep is relevant. Deep is relative, right? You know, depending on your body of water. You know, we're looking at Sam Rayburn, where you go out here and it's 45 feet, 45, 48, 50 feet. Deep is relative. You know, around here, this might be a 4-foot flat with this gut being 10 feet.
Yeah.
Same concept.
Yes.
Your bait fish are still going to, they're still going to gravitate to these guts, to these channels, because that's how they're going to move. Think about it. How does a school of bait?
I guess in my mind, just because I'm thinking about what's relevant to around here, that just seems still deep.
Oh, it's crazy deep. That's one thing I've learned about traveling the country. Like it's insane how deep you can catch bass. I caught smallmouth in Ontario in 47 feet of water.
Yeah, that's super cool.
Off the bottom. So your bait fish movements, right? So bait fish are always going to follow these. Your bait fish generally is not going to come in here and just move across this flat. Why? Well, how do bait move? They're in great big balls, right? You have a great big ball of shad. A great big ball of shad is not just going to come up, hit this edge, and then just over the top of it. If that ball of shad comes in this way, right, and they hit this shallow flat, they're just going to travel along the edge of it. And then they might come into a gut, right? They might move out of it.
Why not move up onto it?
Because it takes away their safety. That's their safety mechanism, is being in a ball. Like that's how they survive. If they get out into a shallow flat, it makes them more vulnerable.
There's cover. If there's cover.
But that's not how bait fish behave. Bait fish don't relate to cover the same way that like a bass does to like hide. Safety in numbers. You know, they have that's why you see big balls of shad.
If bait balls never move up onto those areas, why would the bass even bother sitting on those areas?
So remember I said,
other than to fan beds.
Remember I said this is where, like, if we zoom in here, right?
Right.
I said this is where your bass are going to be, your wintertime bass are going to be. Because when that school of bait comes up through here, and they start moving in here, and those bass start following them, they'll push them up on top of that. your bass generally are going to be up here feeding, and then they'll pull off. They really aren't living up here, right? Especially like
Would
and
bait
we're-
fish not go? Would bait fish not normally travel to the warmer water as well? Because the shallower water is going to get warmer than the deeper water.
Well, but the deeper water stays in a stable temperature, so it doesn't fluctuate up and down.
Yeah.
So you're gonna have fish pushing that bait up onto these flats, and there are a certain population of fish. Now you may have a certain population of fish that's just gonna sit up here and wait for those bait fish to get pushed up on that flat too. I'm not saying there aren't gonna be resident fish that live in an area, in a shallow area, but when you have a ball of bait that rolls up this gut, you're going to have fish behind them, and these fish that were wintering in this area, because what do wintertime bass don't like? They don't like current. Wintertime bass do not like current.
Largemouth are just lazy as shit. Largemouth don't like current. Period. A lot of times. They're lazy.
You get on some TVA lakes, man.
Yeah.
Then that current gets rolling. Woo, buddy. Or even you get on the shore where that current really starts to, the tidal current really starts to roll. Them fish will live in it. Like they love it. So anyway, wintertime, fish push the bait up through here, right? Now, again, that bait's going to always move around, so they're going to follow it, right? But they're going to want to, in the springtime, talking pre-spawn, they're going to be wanting to move toward their spawning areas. That's the only thing in their mind, is moving toward their spawning areas. Now, not all of them are going to move at once. They don't all. I've seen some pretty crazy crap happen in Texas, where it seemed like every fish in the lake moved up at the same time. On Conroe one year, we had fish in brush piles that were in brush piles in like 8 to 12 feet. I mean, and they were loaded. I mean, you come up, you could see them on scope. There's 3 or 4 in there. We casted to a couple of them, caught some 4-pounders, caught a 5-pounder, and like these brush piles were just loaded. First day of the tournament, there is not a fish to be found in these brush piles. And I think we marked like 68 brush piles. Made it to 50 of them, not a fish. It's like they all just moved up at once. But again, in general, not all of them are going to move up at once. You're going to get some early. You're going to get some that move up early when the water temperature is maybe
Normally
50.
the big ones are the one that move up earlier.
Yeah, you know what? Yeah.
It seems like that's the way that it is.
But I mean, I've caught some big ones. I've caught some big ones off of beds in like June.
Yeah, not all of them, but God, June, that is so late.
Yeah, I've seen them on. I've seen fish on beds on the bay as late as the second week of July.
That's crazy.
Caught them off of beds on the back channel flat in crystal clear water. Randomly pulled down one time to eat my sub. So me and my buddy Mark are out there.
He looks over to the right.
We're just having lunch, and I'm sitting on the front deck, and we're talking, and I look over, and I'm like, "There's a bass over there." And, there's like a little sprig of grass sticking up, and a little patch of grass over here. And I watch him chase away. A fish. So I watch him chase away a bluegill, and the water's crystal clear out here. Like there's grass everywhere, ultra filtered, no rain. I watch it chase around. It swings back around, right where it was. Watch it do it again. Comes right back, sits right on it. I'm like, Mark, that fish is on a bed, and like you can see you look closer and you can see, the bed. So I catch it. It's 4-pounder in July, off a bed. I caught that day. I caught 4 more off of beds as I was making my way off the back channel flat from like the Sand Islands toward the back channel. I caught 4 more off of beds as I was trolling across. Like you just trolling along. It was one of those days, where the water's like crystal clear. Out
Yep.
There's catch one out of the corner of an eye, stop. And there's one over there. Dunk. That was crazy. It was in July. It's the latest I've ever found fish on beds. But it was the second week of July. It was like July. I think it was like July 9th. So
July
they don't all move
9th,
up. They don't.
1952.
I'm not that old. So they don't all move up at the same time. They don't all spawn at the same time. But you will get waves of fish. So, you know, and they can move. That's the crazy part. And I talked about this earlier, is covering water. And don't be afraid to come back to spots that you fished earlier in the day. Mm-hmm. Because where that might be a good spot, like, let's say, this little point at the mouth of this creek over here. So this little, this point at the mouth of this creek over here, maybe we fished that in the morning and there's nothing there. We come back at noon and it's loaded up because you're going to get waves of fish that move in. Yeah, but that's Champlain. That doesn't count. They spawn late up there. They don't start spawning up there until like mid-June. They start spawning.
Catching the same fish 2 days in a row, though, is pretty interesting.
I call it.
A lot of people think that once they get hooked once, they don't eat again for another 3 or 4 days, and that's just not true.
I caught one off a bed in Loch Raven one time, fishing from the bank, 3 times in the same day.
I guess when they're defending the bed,
Yeah, I love bed. Bed fishing is one of my favorite things to do, and I walked by this fish. Walked by it once, caught it, walked by it again, caught it, and then told my buddy, I was like, I'm gonna go back and catch that fish again, and went back, caught it again. It was fun. It was like a 3-pounder, it wasn't anything giant, but it was fun. But yeah, Champlain, they spawn late. They spawn late up there, so that doesn't surprise me. All them New York areas up there. Little colder up there than it is down here. Usually they start spawning down here in April,
May.
April, starting in April.
Because it's March 20th right now, so I don't. If we're still seeing those 40-some degree water temperatures now, I know that spawn has a lot to do with light. It has a lot to do with.
You'll get some spawners around here in like early April.
It seems like early.
But usually
it seems like early April right now is like super early. Like it's just the water's just going to be so damn cold.
Oh, I mean,
when I think of spawn, I'm thinking like 50, 60 degree water.
So
we're still in
all
like
it takes is
like
a few
40s.
warm days this time here because the
true.
days are so long. So last week when it was really warm, we had those like 70-degree days.
Mm-hmm.
So there were areas on the upper bay, up around Haverty degrees.
Tom said he saw areas up to 60 degrees.
Yeah.
Like, that's crazy.
Yep. It doesn't take long. All it takes is a few warm days. But you need that stabilization too. Like, you have to have this stable weather for them to start. But once it gets, you get 4 or 5 warm days in a row, like, that's going to be, that water's going to be 60 plus degrees. Yeah, see, that's normal down here. So, like, I don't think about that. They spawn in, 70-degree water down here is like normal spawning. That's like normal spawning temperature, especially when they're spawning like out on the grass flats. It's always, it always warms up quick out there. It'll go from like 60 degrees to 75 degrees in like a weekend.
60 degrees in Joppa last week when it was warm. That's wild.
Yeah. And then, again, shallower water, the shallower water is going to warm up faster. So when those pre-spawn fish are following that bait, they're not necessarily, the bass aren't necessarily looking to go to the warmer water. The bait is going to the warmer water. So when the bait goes to the warmer water, the bass follow them. That's when, like you said, I was thinking about pre-spawn with them moving up shallow to eat. They're going to follow bait. Everything is predicated on bait. Everything outside of the spawn is predicated on bait. Everything. Nothing else. A bass does nothing else except fuck and eat. That's their main jobs, right? Reproduce, eat. So those are, they're going to be moving toward their spawning areas.
They don't even be doing that. They just be fertilizing eggs.
I mean, they're on the bed like flopping around. You ever seen a
No,
You ever
I
seen 'em,
always
like, really
thought
paired up?
that the female laid eggs and then the male
no so
fertilized the eggs.
So the male will actually try to push the eggs out. So they'll be like rubbing up on them, like rubbing their coochies.
Okay. For us, it seems like 60, 65 is the sweet spot. Smallmouth move in the high 50s, but 60, 65, it's on pretty much everywhere.
Yeah, our smallmouth down here are usually in that once it gets steady into the like mid 60s is when the smallmouth really start to spawn. But usually it's when it's between 60 and 65, like you said, that's our smallmouth fire, and then our largemouth are usually a couple weeks after that. Or sometimes it's at the same time. It varies from year to year. We just have to go figure it out. But anyway, I hope looking at a map and kind of pointing out what we were looking for, like that. These are the things that I'm looking for. Especially if I'm going to a new body of water and I'm fishing in the springtime, I'm looking for creek channels that go back into spawning areas. Actually, Josh, we're not that far ahead of you. We were iced up 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. It was 2 or 3 weeks ago.
2.5 weeks ago.
A lot of
like
ice.
Yeah, we were still solid ice.
It was literally the coldest it's ever been. Well, not ever been down here, but it was the coldest it's been down here in probably 10 years. We had freaking trucks and dirt bikes and everything out on the ice on the freaking river.
We, I think we cracked the top 10 for most days below, or most days in single digits. Mm-hmm. Like most days in a year.
Yeah, they've been brutal. It's global warming.
Not for us.
You know what I mean? Like Josh says, these past 2 winters have been
not for
absolutely
us.
brutal.
This winter sucked.
Dude,
last winter, I fished the whole. What's that?
Due to global warming.
You got an extra one in there? Yeah. Yeah. Last winter?
This is the last one.
Freaking awesome. Fished all winter. Caught fish all winter. This year, my boat sat for 3 months because it was iced over. Actually, last weekend was the first day that I got out, and it sucked because everything around here is muddy and cold.
Yeah.
We had a big cold front come through. We had like
a lot of big rains have come through here. A lot of big storms.
4 or 5 days where it was like 70 degrees, and then it dropped into like the 40s. And the wind blew and everything muddied up. I still caught, we caught 5, but wasn't a spectacular day.
Jim says this winter sucked for us. We had low 30s for like 3 whole days. Yeah, I'm sure that messed everything up down there in Florida though. When them little freaking gators got ice around their noses, that's pretty wild for down there in Florida.
So I didn't tell you my fun little adventure that I had to get out on the water on Saturday.
Okay. Tell me more.
So I meet my buddy Mark at the ramp at like 6:45, and he gets all his stuff put in my boat, and like I get my bibs and stuff on. Go back to raise my jack plate up to take my motor toter off. Nothing. Straight dead. Keep in mind, my battery's been on the charger all week and periodically on and off, throughout the winter.
Yeah, I thought you said that you had the cranking battery off the charger for like 2 months or something.
So now periodically it was on and off. But from January, it may have been off for like a month. Mm-hmm. So I will tell you exactly why it happened, and now I remember. So, from when I picked it up until for about a month, it was off the charger. when I uncovered my boat a couple weeks ago that was a nice day to put everything back in, get my boat organized, clean it up a little bit, clean out my compartments, get everything reorganized, ready to go. My master power switch was on for that entire month.
Ah, that'll do it.
So I'm
The
like,
poles are powered up. Everything's powered up.
I'm like, that sucks. Yeah, and poles I'm not really that worried about because they go into like sleep mode. But just my master power being on drained my battery. Well, when I took it back to see if they would warranty it, it was 5.2 volts. So anyway, my adventure was, so I'm at the ramp. I got nothing, right? And I'm like, battery's been on charger for a while. Like, that doesn't make any sense unless my charger's messed up. So I tell Mark, I'm like, yeah, sorry, buddy. Like,
Doesn't look like we're going fishing.
That was kind of one of the things to do today, to make sure everything was working right. So doesn't look like we're going fishing. So I go home. Batteries Plus over in Timonium opens at 9 o'clock. And I'm home at like 8. And I'm like, all right, let's yank this battery out of here. So I yanked the battery out.
Did you get one of the Duracell batteries, or?
I run an X2 AG,
right,
dual purpose AGM, which, keep in mind, is a $580 battery. It is not cheap. So I've warrantied them before, no problem. So like I had one in my Champion. When I blew the motor up and it was sitting at the
shop or the shop.
When I was sitting at the shop, like my battery went bad, and they warrantied it, and I'm probably same exact issue, right? Like it just sat without being charged. So like I take it over there, and typical, like, and I don't like nothing against them for this part, but they're like, oh, we have to, it's low voltage, we have to charge it up so that we can test it. It's going to take a day or two. I'm like, cool. Like I know what you got to do. I'm going to buy a battery, and if it comes, after you guys test it, you can just you can refund me because that's all you're going to do anyway. And they're like, yeah, we can do that. Cool. I'm like, all right, buy a battery. Drive my happy ass home. Call Mark on the way. I was like, hey, you still want to go fishing? And he's like, well, I'm still at the ramp. He was fishing off the bulkhead around the pier. I was like, well, hold on to that for about an hour, and I'll be there. I got to drive home, drop this battery in real quick, and then I'll drive up. I'll drive back.
That's freaking crazy. You just
so I run.
He was just fishing off the bulkhead.
So I run up, like I run home and
AGM battery.
It's an AGM, Matt. So I run home, put everything back together. Luckily, like it's super easy to get to the batteries. Like I don't have to pull anything out. Just pop them, pop my connections back on. Boom, I'm on my way to the ramp. So I get up to the ramp, get everything unhooked. Cool, trim's working. Everything's good. Back the boat into the water. Mark's parking the truck. Hit my unit, my fish finder. Nothing. Fish finders won't come on. I looked in my build for no less than 15 minutes thinking that I must have not connected something. And there is not a wire to be found. Like I'm looking back
going
underneath,
through everything.
like I'm going through everything. And like there's not a wire to be found. And I'm like, well, obviously I connected, there's no extra wires. So like obviously I connected everything up. Weight. I need the weight in the back. So, all right. So like I dig around in there, over the like 2 times I dig around there. It's like 15 minutes. I walk back and I'm just looking down at the battery, and I just reach down and I touch the connection, and I swear to God, a wire just goes bloop and falls like out, falls like down. I'm like, I went through every wire in this boat and could not find this. So zip that back on, like no problem. Everything's good to go. We finally get out on the water at like 11 o'clock.
That's a decent time to start fishing anyways when it's cold out. You get the sun up, the water starts to warm
it wasn't
up
bad.
It
wasn't bad in the morning, but tide got way blown out. Fishing was super super tough. We only had two, like we had only caught 2 fish until the last hour we were fishing, and this is something I want to bring up because this is no master switch wasn't off. It was on. I made sure that was on. So this is something that my buddy said, like, said to me, like, well, this is the difference between when I fish with you and when you fish with other people, or when he fishes with other people. So we're fishing an area, and the water's really muddy, and I'm thinking, like, okay, like, this water's really muddy. These fish are probably really shallow. Like, they're going to be real tight to cover. Like, any of this hard cover that's out here, like, I'm going to focus on that. There's not a lot of it where I was fishing, but there's a couple, just like 2 or 3 laydowns. So I fire my spinnerbait up on one, of course, snag.
Of course.
Like, I snag in like this much water, right? I'm like, crap. So I go up to get my spinnerbait, and I come up into this, there's a couple pieces of wood, laying there in a little area. I bump one with my trolling motor, fish shoots out. Immediately, I pull my spinnerbait out, say, Mark, put your life vest on, turn it, and ran to a different area. And in the last 45 minutes that we fished, I caught three decent fish, 2 3-pounders.
In a shallow area off wood.
Yeah.
Yep.
A lot of people would have been like, oh, there's fish in this area. Like, well, can you just keep fishing through here? Right?
Yeah.
And
you recognize that there's a pattern happening right now.
Yeah, and I didn't recognize that there was a pattern yet, but it was easier. Like, I could have stayed in that stretch, and there's maybe 2 or 3 more trees in a half-mile stretch. Like, it's pretty bare bank. So, like, I could have kept fishing up that bank and then maybe hit those couple of trees, or I can run to an area that had 10 trees in a 200-yard stretch, so that I could, okay, like, I can go here and boom, 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 boom. I can hit these 10 trees and figure out, like, is this where they're going to be? Are they going to be on this stuff?
Yeah.
Versus, like, wasting all that time. I'll only fish a couple of trees, it's all about efficiency on the water.
Yeah. Matt says, drop the Stratus off at Tiger Outboards to get the Fitch tuned up today. There you go.
Oh.
Ready to go. The Fitch, that's the old Evan Rude.
That's the one Tony used to have.
Yeah.
That he blowed up.
It went to pop. It went to boom.
A reason I bring that up is when you pick up on something like that, and you're, that's what your gut tells you. Like, we always talk about fishing with instincts. Like, my instincts, my years of fishing told me that they were going to be very shallow, very tight to cover. So that, when I recognized that instinct might be right, I went to an area where I could be productive trying to figure out that pattern. Instead of just continuing my way up the bank, because that's all we were doing. We were fishing a channel edge, up the bank, a little bit of grass here and there. So we could have just kept fishing that, but, like, you got to pay attention to something. Like, a lot of people would have saw a fish swim out and just been like, oh, there was a fish in there.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you got to be able to take those little pieces, those little tiny clues that you get like that, and then apply them. It was 90% of tournament fishing is decision making. Knowing when to go, when to leave, when to stay. The other 10% is knowing what the pattern is, and you've already figured that out in practice, generally.
Changes.
It does. Yeah, but that's where the decision making comes in, because you figured out the pattern. I'm not saying pattern as far as like baits, but like you figured out where the fish are in practice. The decision time comes during the tournament. Like, if your bite changes, making the adjustments. That might be, fish are probably in the same area, but I got to throw a jig now instead of a chatterbait. Or, I got to throw a spinner bait instead of a jerk bait because they moved up. Decision making. It's all about decision making.
Brew Tank. What's going on, Brew Tank? Brew Tank says, cheers, fellas. Off topic. Hitting Anna tomorrow. What the hell should I be throwing? And he doesn't have scope. He's poor.
I would go skip docks. Either I would do one of two things. I would either skip docks or I would find points outside of pockets and drag a Carolina rig.
John Tiger on the show. You know what?
And
That's
Hauser
right
of
up.
two strokes.
That is right up Tony's alley.
It is right up Tony's alley.
That is right up Tony's alley. I mean, docks. It seems like this time of year down there in Anna, if I remember right, it was like they were moving up onto little flat areas and they were on wood a lot. They were on stumps. Flipping stumps with a worm or something of that nature.
I'm thinking
was
he
what
is
producing a lot of fish.
I'm thinking he's talking about the cold side though.
That's what I'm thinking as well.
Yeah.
Thinking the cold side, but in that cold side, they're moving from some of those deeper areas up to the more shallow areas because it's going to be nice and sunny.
Yeah, you got to find
down there on Lake Anna, because of it being a man-made lake in a lot of those areas, you have those trees that were just cut down. You have the stumps that are right down there below the surface of the water, and those stumps are a hot place for those fish to move up, and then that's just structure for them to hold to.
Yeah, and those are like you're going to find those like that on those, like I was saying, on points.
Yeah,
like you'll find a lot of those on that. That's the kind of stuff that you want to focus on, is that structure that's on points.
That's what I would probably be doing. Like Paul says, probably be targeting some of those main lake transition points.
Points out on the outside of the pockets, and then the secondary points inside the pockets.
Yep.
You got to figure out where they're at. I mean, I don't know what the water temperature is down right there right now, but if they're anywhere close to moving up, or just skip docks all day.
Yeah. I would do the points. I don't know.
I'd fish docks all day,
I'm not as
personally.
not as keen on skipping docks or whatnot. I would focus on the points. I would think of the main points, the secondary points. Find those little flats that have the stumps on them, and I would go flip those stumps.
I would put on a 1/2 ounce jig with a Berkeley Maxcent Power Hog trailer, trimmed down just a hair. It's a beaver. Is all it is. Just a Maxcent beaver.
Or I would throw a shaky head.
And I would skip that under a dock. Every dock that I could find.
Okay, so we posted earlier, worms or creature baits, and you said you would always if you had to pick one, you would throw a creature bait for the rest of your life.
I rarely throw a worm anymore.
Why would you throw a creature bait over a worm? Obviously, you're a little bit more comfortable with a creature bait right now, but why? Would
I think
you
it's just
throw the creature bait
confidence.
over the worm?
I tend to catch more fish on throwing. Like if it gets tough for me and like I need to slow down, I'm putting on a baby brush hog. Like that's my go-to. Like I need to get bit, so let me drag something through here. I'm not saying like like a worm on a shaky head's not a good not a good choice, right? But obviously that is. But I can also put a creature bait on a shaky head.
You can put a creature bait on a shaky head.
If I wanted to fish a shaky head, I can always do that.
Yep.
But generally, like if I slow down, I'm throwing a creature bait. There's a couple of worms that I throw regularly, to different times of the year. Obviously, post spawn. My favorite bite post spawn is 10.5, 11-inch worm. Like I love throwing big worms, immediate post spawn. So in like, usually around here it's in June, just throwing a zoom hole monster, out in the grass. It's a cool bite. I mean, because when they eat it, it's just donk.
Yeah, like we were talking about earlier, Brew Tank. I don't know if you were here or not, but main lake point. Here's a main lake point, right here. Fishing out around in this area, something like that.
They might be a little
out here.
They actually
another,
might be
another point.
They might be a little farther along down there. I don't know what the water.
Yeah,
temperature
don't
is,
know what the water temperature is. We haven't been down there for a while, but just giving you like an example of something to look for if you're you're looking at the different pockets that are out there.
My advice
on the lake, these little fingers that go up in here. You have a point here. You have a point over here. And then you have secondary points. What would be a secondary? I guess this would be considered like a secondary point down here.
So here, let me see the mouse. So, like, let me see what else I got on here. make it a little easier. So, like, this is the main lake point,
Yeah.
right? This, why aren't you working? This is
Down
the second-
there.
That's
Yeah.
a
Secondary point.
So it's just the, main lake points are like your primary point, and secondary points are going to be inside your pockets. What I would do, Brutang, the first thing that I would do, find a good pocket that has a lot of stuff in it. That has a bigger pocket. I would go right to the back of it, start in the back, and work my way out. Because you're gonna find them. I know they're moving. It's March. They're moving shallow down there. So go to the back, be able to fish some docks. If it's got some wood in it, even better.
But see how over here in this big finger, how it comes back here and it gets more shallow. It gets back here to this red, and it just has. This is going to be a main spawning area, like down in here. So you want to find something that's like somewhat similar to this in looks. You know what I mean? And go to different places like this. Start in the back where it's nice and shallow here in that 4 and 5 foot area, and work your way out. Probably down along the sides here, along these points.
On Anna, there's probably going to be docks in the back of that pocket.
Yeah.
So it gives you something easy to go to. You just go to the back.
Yep.
Go to the back, fish the docks out. Check some other things. Don't be afraid. Fish the bank in between the docks. As you're going out, and just cover water. Covering water is a really important piece to you finding fish this time of year, especially if you don't have a live scope. If you have a live scope, you just side scan until you find bait.
But you have a graph, and your graph should be able to do that for you.
Yeah, if you have
graphs that can show you those transition points, and you're color code it from shallow down to deep, you should be able to find.
If you have a map,
those areas.
If you have a map and side scan, just as you're going to the back, just side scan. Go down one side. Whatever the. I would actually go, find whatever side the creek channel runs down, and just get 100 feet off the bank and just scan all the way to the back. And then you're covering essentially half the pocket, maybe a little less, but as you're going back, if you see any logs, if you see any standing timber, there's a lot of standing timber down in Anna. So if you see any timber, if you see any lay downs under the water, if you see any stumps, just mark them as you're going back, and then as you fish your way out, fish your docks, fish around your docks, because there's always fish around docks, right? Fish those docks, but then make sure you check out those areas that you marked too, that underwater structure that you can't see, and that gives you that'll give you an idea of hey, okay, well, I started back of this pocket, I worked my way out, I caught my fish in this zone. I didn't catch anything farther back, and I didn't catch anything farther out, but I caught them in this zone. Generally, if you caught them in that zone in that pocket, you should be able to run a pattern off that. If you're in the same area of the lake, it might be different down toward the dam. If you're mid-lake, but if you're in that mid-lake area and you find them in an area, they should be the same in any of those pockets mid-lake. So just something to think about.
Something to play with.
On that note, I got to get up early tomorrow because I got a tournament to run.
Yep. Thinking the same thing.
Or to assist with, and I got some fishing to do while everybody else is out fishing.
This has been another episode of Friday Night Shenanigans on Bass Bay Radio. We appreciate you guys for hanging out with us, tuning in, giving us some great comments to always go off of. And we'll be back with you guys next Friday.
See you guys.
Peace.